How's everybody doing? Welcome to Sonic Labs. In this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about high-pass filters. We got some requests on our website to talk about the usage of high-pass filters and what they are and when to use them, and whether or not to use them from plug-in sources or from mic sources or mic preamp sources. First off, high-pass filters they're filters that can be activated either at the mic itself, at the source, or they can be activated at a mic pre, or they can be activated in post via plug-in or some sort of EQ. What they are is they're a filter that basically you set a frequency and it cuts off and allows only the high frequencies from that frequency up to pass, hence the name high pass. So what they're used for is they're used for cleaning up, to be honest, they're used for cleaning up a lot of mud is what they're used for. A lot of certain frequencies in the lower realm, below 100 hertz, what'll happen is you'll get a certain thing like guitar or acoustic guitar, vocals, things like that, where a lot of that stuff down there is just really not super useful, and all it does is start to cloudy up your mix. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an example of how to use them and when to use them. The first, and by the way, there's exceptions to all these rules, but this is what I've found in my experience. But first, it's whether or not do you use them at the mic itself, or at the pre, or an EQ, or a plug-in. And the answer is it's really up to you. It depends on whether or not you're willing to commit. There are usually two schools of thought. There's the school of thought that talks about committing as you go in, and then that's the end of it. And then there's the school of thought that is sort of afraid to do anything and wants to get the cleanest, most transparent signal going in, an unaltered signal going in, and then you do everything later. I personally do whatever sounds better. So there are certain things where if I'm recording acoustic guitar or if I'm recording shaker, I'll activate the high pass filter at the mic, and then sometimes even at the mic pre, and go higher than the mic, because each mic is going to have a predetermined point where it high passes. It's usually 80, but it could be 100, it could be whatever. Each mic is a little bit different, and every high pass on a mic pre is different as well. And the slope is different. So we're going to go into Pro Tools, and I'm going to show you a few examples. Because what the deal is that not only on, you'd think that it's only for these things like shakers and acoustic guitars and high things like that, but it's really not. It's also for kick drum and for bass and low instrument things, because what happens is that you end up boosting the low end on these things, like let's say kick drum, for example. In this session that we have up here, this is a track off of the new Morning Life record called Stretching, and we're going to analyze the kick drum just for a second. So let's go to the computer. Okay, so now here is our kick in, and what I have here is an SSL plugin, and you'll notice that at the plugin up here, I'm starting to roll off right around 40, because down here I'm boosting around 80. I do have a kick out mic. I think I was using a sub kick on this, which is actually yeah, I have a sub kick on this. So the kick out mic. First, let's take a listen. Okay, so the kick out mic here is pretty, it's pretty low-endy, pretty ballsy. There's a lot of information down in the low end, and you can see that I have it rolled off right around 213 hertz. So if I put another one-band EQ on this this kick, this is the sub now, the kick out mic, and I roll it off, let's see, roll it off maybe around 40 hertz. if I flip this right here so that it's now a low pass where I can only hear the low, I can hear just what I'm rolling off. This is a good trick. If you don't want to roll off too much, what you do is put the high pass filter in and then switch it to low pass so that you can hear exactly what you're getting rid of. And then once you do that, start moving the low pass up so that you can hear exactly what you'll be getting rid of. I think I'm going to set it around 48 and then I'm going to roll that. Now, if you listen to the same kick drum sound, it'll sound a little more focused. Let's do the same thing for the kick in mic now. Now, like I said, I've said before, I already have a high pass at 40 Hertz on this. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone. And now when you listen to these two together, they work together very nicely. They work together very nicely. So, so now, and you can do the same thing for room sounds. Like here are the room sounds. There's a lot of low-end information down there. So what I'm going to do is, before it even hits this plugin, let me see what I have on here. That's the Slate plugin. I'm going to go ahead and first, pretty much, the first EQ in the chain, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Roll off, put it as a low pass first, and then hit play and start pulling it down until it starts to get really muddy, Right around 67, 70 Hertz. It's, you don't want it to cloudy up your kick. It's supposed to work with your kick and not against it. But because room mics are so much further away than your close mics, you don't want there to be any sort of phase issues or whatever. So this is with the high pass in. So it's already starting to sort of come together even more. And you can do the same thing for bass. So bass, once again, I've got, what I'm going to do is put my high pass on the bass, and then set it to low pass, come down. Now, think about the key of your song also. A low E, the low E string on a bass guitar is 41.2 Hertz. So you don't want to have anything really below that. If your song, if you don't have a 5-string bass, if you have a 4-string bass, then the lowest note that's possibly hit on that bass is 41.2 Hertz. It's a low E, unless you're in a drop D tuning, or if your band tunes to E flat. So think about that. So say, okay, if the song's in E, everything below 40 Hertz pretty much in the bass area is subharmonic. It's sort of just muddying up your mix. So just what I do is I just get rid of it. I roll it away, and all of a sudden you get this nice punch in the chest when you listen to the bass and the kick work in tandem. So let's listen right here at 37 Hertz or whatever. I'm gonna come up to 40 Hertz. And I'm gonna roll that off. And then I'm going to roll off the same thing on the bass amp signal. And now here's my bass and drums. So, the reality is that I probably, for those low frequency types of instruments, I probably wouldn't roll them off at the mic or the mic pre in recording, because once it's there, you can't go back. Once it's gone, you can't go back. There's no information there. So what I would do is, those kind of low frequency instruments, I would tend to do it in post. Something that, like I said, shaker, acoustic guitar. Now don't go crazy on acoustic guitar, because there's a lot of low-end information in acoustic guitar that people don't realize, and you don't want to just throw it away. There's a lot of great information down there. So don't go put some 160 hertz high-pass filter on your acoustic guitar, because you'll ruin the sound. So what I would do is be conservative when tracking. When you track, be conservative unless you really are willing to commit. If you ever want to say, well, maybe I don't want this and I want to go back, then do it with a plug-in. You know, mic companies and mic pre-companies put these on the plugins and on the mics for your convenience, but they're not, they don't, you know, sound, yes, it sounds different going in that way, but it's not like you can't get to that sound. Just like with a picture. If your picture is this tiny, it's impossible to blow it up to the size of the wall behind me. It'll just pixelate. But if you have more information than you need in post, if the picture's already that size and you can shrink it down to the size of a quarter, then you'll have a really sharp picture. So that's my mantra. Use high-pass filters when absolutely you know that you're not going to need that information, or else you can run it in post and still, you know, tend to get the same type of results. So hope this was helpful, and join us for the next episode. Thanks.